Hello, fellow travelers, and welcome to the Versus Stars podcast. How my loyal listeners, thank you for continued support. And remember, click the subscribe button, everybody. It's an amazing episode because Jin Maley boards the mothership. You know them as Ensign Esmar on the third season of Star Trek Picard. Come aboard as we go traversing the stars. Hello, Jin. Thank you for coming to the Versus Stars podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Jeff. I'm glad to be here.
It's an absolute honor. You're awesome. I really loved Star Trek Picard, so thank you so much for coming on.
Of course.
So I always start off with a question of inspiration. So what inspired your love of acting and who your earliest influences?
Ooh, that's a great question. Uh, you said, what inspired my love for acting?
Yep.
I saw The Glass Menagerie by Tennessee Williams at the Kennedy Center when I was in Maryland, in my senior year of college, I think, and a senior year of high school. And I just thought it was so beautiful. And I really fell in love with theater first. So that was kind of my first thing. And then, yeah, from there, I grew to other things. And, after I graduated from my conservatory program, I came out here to LA and I talked to a couple agents who thought that maybe I would do better in Los Angeles than New York because I'm not a musical theater actor, and that's more of a thing in New York.
Yeah.
And also, Los Angeles at the time, I mean, I think it still is, was more inclusive in casting somebody who's Asian and half Asian. Like I don't speak any Asian languages, so there was just more opportunity for me here. So yeah,
So is it more did it get a tendency of getting stereotyped because of the Asian background?
yeah,
Yeah.
totally. A lot of like, there's always that Asian reporter who's like thrown in there for color in the background, like they're trying to meet some kind of diversity quota. And it's just like, it sucks, but you just got to keep pushing. And I think that the industry is changing a little bit more now. And hopefully it won't be so much like that in the future.
So I mean, do movies like Crazy Rich Asians or like Chang-Chi, does that is that making things better, or is it has no impact?
Oh, definitely. I definitely think so. Yeah.
What do you think Star Trek's role as well as helping in the question of diversity in larger conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I think that thank God for Star Trek because the Star Trek universe is so diverse and that's one of
Mm,
the values of the show. And yeah, I think it provides opportunities for us as actors and then it provides opportunities for audiences to think outside the box when it comes to, stepping outside of stereotypes and yeah, it's great.
you know, having conversation with people online, which is probably the worst thing to ever do, but it happens. One thing that I think gets discussed when often is diversity in things like I said for Star Trek, and some question of like, does it matter? Do you feel that regular people get their understanding of diversity through what they see on television and film?
Yeah, but to you're saying that some people online are saying that like we don't need diversity?
Well, yeah, there's a seems to be a larger even in Star Trek fans that are like, what? That's just woke. Why are they doing that? Blah blah blah. It's like they're forcing that. It's like no, they're just trying to help the conversation. That's part of the franchise.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think it absolutely matters. Representation matters so much. And, Nichelle Nichols, the first Black woman who played the communications officer, I mean, like that was a big deal for, I think it's a big deal for people who see, an Asian non-binary person who would see themselves in me, in my character. So it's a big deal for those people, but I think it's a big deal for everybody because it just helps us all be more empathetic and you don't have to, non-white people have been watching movies for ages and relating to these white characters. And it's
Mm,
like, you can relate to anybody, you don't have to be the same background as someone to relate to them. We're all human beings,
yeah.
unless you're Esmar and you're an alien, but same thing.
Well, I agree completely because I do think public opinion in the country does change. Like I said, such as for people who are gay and lesbian, due to things like Ellen, Will and Grace. I think that changed the conversation a little bit. People were like, "Oh, that's not so weird." and people started accepting. And you did have because I think shifts in voting for like gay marriage and support changed a lot. I think due to what we saw on television.
I absolutely agree.
Now, in Star Trek Picard, you play Ensign Esmar, who is presented on the show as well as being a non-binary character. So was that always true of the character?
Um, I'm not totally sure. When I auditioned for the part, I think they were looking for someone queer potentially, and it could have been, I think they would match whoever they cast, they would
Hmm.
um match the identity to the actor that they picked.
Now, once again, just so go on top just a little bit. So, do you think the progressive nature of Star Trek is an attribute or its strength?
I think it's a huge strength. Yeah, I think it's wonderful. Yeah, strength for sure.
So how did you get involved in Star Trek Picard as Ensign Esmar?
I auditioned. I think my original audition was for Vatic, and obviously, we know that Amanda Plummer crushed it in that role. So yeah, I didn't get that, and then I got this audition. I get my auditions through my agents, and I got that, and I got it for the communications officer. And when I was offered the part, I didn't know how big the part would be. I had no idea. Um, and I was kind of scared to accept it because I was afraid I was going to be a red shirt. I said, this could also not be a red shirt. It could actually be really cool. So I have to just trust in the universe and be like, okay, this is it. I'm gonna go for this and we'll see what happens. And luckily I was in the whole season. So
So, were you already a fan of Star Trek prior to getting the part?
I was, yeah. I was a fan of Next Generation, which I binge watched in college with my best friend. And I remember thinking even then that it would be really cool to be in the Star Trek universe. That was I think it was probably the first TV show that I thought I would like to be in that. So it's very full circle for me that it actually happened. It's pretty crazy.
It's kind of funny. We're talking about Nichelle Nichols and communications officer. There's you, so no pressure. You're sitting in the chair of Nichelle Nichols.
No big deal. Yeah.
So, what's that experience like for you to once again? Because think about Star Trek. Once again, everyone knows these characters. Everyone knows kind of like what their jobs were. Is there any pressure in knowing who came before you in that chair?
I tried not to think about it and just trust that my understanding of the character is my understanding. And, they cast me based on, they wanted to see my interpretation.
Hmm.
So, yes, it is intimidating. And also, you just got to say, okay, like, this is the situation I'm in. I got to rise to the challenge and it'll be fine. And the thing too is making Star Trek, making any film or TV show is it's such a collaborative effort. And, the costumes, the lighting, everything is cooperating. It's supporting you to give your best performance. And it's not just about what I'm doing, because if I didn't have that awesome makeup, it would have sucked, like everything contributes. The character is a composite of everyone's efforts, including mine.
Hmm.
So it kind of takes the pressure off a little bit when you remember that.
Now, is that the first time you had to wear prosthetics for a role?
It is, yeah.
Is that how annoying or distracting is it to have that on your head when you're trying to act?
Uh, yeah, it felt pretty weird. Like
Yeah.
whenever I furrowed my eyebrows or something, it didn't really go all the way. So I feel like my eyebrow muscles probably got a lot stronger. But yeah, once I got used to it, it was just like, oh, this is my face now. It felt like it was part of my face, which
Hmm.
is really cool. It didn't feel like an add-on. Like after the first time they put it on and I got used to it for a few hours, it was like, oh, this is the character. This is my face.
Now, are there considerations that you had to make knowing that, like you said, your eyebrow, there's certain things you just can't do because of the prosthetics and your facial expressions?
The thing is, I would still make those expressions, but I was making them through the prosthetic.
Hmm.
So I think that the expressions when I watched, I wasn't sure how it was going to look because I felt like my facial expressions were kind of restricted. But when I saw it, I saw that it all came through. Like it didn't look, even though my eyebrows didn't move through the prosthetic, the muscles around my eyes were making that expression. So it still
Hmm.
translated, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if I maybe I'm probably gonna pronounce the name of the alien wrong. It's a Helene.
Julian.
Helene. Now, I think that's only been I've seen twice on Star Trek. It was once in season 2 of Picard, and I think a character in Lower Decks had it. So, what were you told about the Heleans prior to getting the role?
Nothing.
Nothing.
They didn't tell me I was going to be an alien until I was in the makeup chair. And I was like, what? Is this a new decision? Did you know, but you just didn't tell me? Okay, let me just get that into my bones. And then I just looked it up, and thank God for those, websites online where fans have,
Oh yes.
because that's what I did. I just looked on Memory Alpha or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Um, Learned a little bit about the character and the fact that they're an empath, that they have telepathy. And I just
Mm.
thought, well, wouldn't it be cool if they were an empath, hardcore empath? And that's just going to be my inspiration for the character.
So I think Adele of Pomeranki was the one who played Kemi in season 2. Like I said, the only other one I think was live action version of that species. Did you try to see what she would do with the performance, or did you think at that point there's so few, little representation of that alien that you're basically going to be the one who shepherds that into existence?
Yeah, I didn't check in with that. I just, yeah.
I mean, is it weird for you to know that you basically are going to be what people assume that the alien race is? That so everything you did, they're like, oh, that's what it is.
That's really funny. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, I think, well, when it comes to diversity too, it's like, okay, well, there are a lot of different versions of a Hellion, just like there are a lot of different
Mm,
versions of, I mean, everybody's personalities are different. So that gives you a lot of freedom to know that really that's how it has to, that's what life is like. Not everybody is the same.
mm. But you are basically the Mr. Spock of aliens now.
I love that. I love that.
No pressure. So because the character is of the species is empathic and apparently what's use of a stone telepathic, um did that I mean, once you figured that part out, did that change how you thought the character interacted with the other crewmates?
Absolutely. In retrospect, I think it was really great because I had a much more, I don't want to say narrow idea of who the character was, but I didn't have a really fleshed out idea of who the character was until they told me they were Hellion, and it gave me some place to go. It gave me more of a perspective because if this person receiving is empathic and sort of constantly receiving a lot of uh, emotional information from the people around them, um, then yeah, they're going to be more sensitive. And the way that I thought about it is, anything like that is any superpower is a strength and a weakness.
Mm.
And it can be a strength, but sometimes it's a weakness where they're overwhelmed, but they have to keep moving forward.
Yeah, I was thinking about the character. I don't know it would if I'd feel it would benefit me to know how my coworkers are feeling about me. Like every day I'd be like, shit. Either I'm an a-hole or everyone around me is.
Yeah, I know.
You assume that they do develop the character more. Do you think how do you think that would have impacted her and how she does interact with them? Do you think that would make her more gregarious, a little more hesitant to be around them?
The way that I thought about them understanding what was going on around them or picking up signals was more as a way to support them in their job, like help them
Mm.
understand and anticipate what might be coming next. So I actually didn't think about it in terms of a self-conscious way. That's something I'll have to think about.
Mm.
Go back.
And definitely also when you think about being a communications officer, is there something that connects directly to why that would be specifically a good position for her? Oh, sorry.
I think so.
Them. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I do think so. Because language is a window into the culture, and if you can understand the language of the people, you're also understanding what they're like. Like I think that those two things are very related to me.
Now, later on in the series, without giving away too spoilers, it's been on for ended about a week and a half, so I can give a little bit away. You get to play Borg Esmar as well. So, what is that like for you? How did it feel to explore this version of Esmar and getting the extra prosthetics, which I'm sure were fun?
So fun, so fun. It was amazing. Um, walking up to the captain's chair and sitting in it was
Mm,
just one of the highlights of my life. Like that moment was a highlight of my life.
yeah.
Great.
I
And it was cool because it's so different from the way Esmar is. I mean,
yeah.
it's just drained of any kind of emotion or empathy.
'Cause I was thinking, because in my brain, this is going to go on to Star Trek Legacy, and we're going to have many more seasons of Esmar. Which, if it doesn't happen, it has to, at least in some form. You know, um, being a Borg is being connected mentally to every other member of the Borg. Does being an empath maybe help her cope with what that experience was like?
I think the idea was that we were 100% Borg and like I'm trying to think. I think that was the idea. Like, I think maybe there were some moments later on where they wanted to see that we were sort of struggling to get. It was when I was Borg, I was Borg. I wasn't thinking about trying to
Mm,
um I get. I wasn't in Esmar mode. I was in Borg mode, if that makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think everyone was happy to see though that your character did not get killed during during the fighting. I mean, uh, was that in your back of your mind too when you're reading the script? You're like, oh no, don't tell
Yeah.
me.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, I mean, obviously they do show that Esmar does survive because at the end you do see Esmar in the communications chair. So, I mean, if you just thinking about the character, how do you think, or how badly traumatized do you think Esmer is by what happened?
I think that they are strengthened by what happened. They rose to the challenge. In the beginning, the Titan was a well-oiled machine, and it was not at all about exploring new worlds or, um, rescuing people, doing the right thing despite protocol. That's
Mm.
not the kind of ship they were on until this season. And I think I think they're stronger. And if I get to go back, I think that Esmar will be more mature for having been through this experience.
If they don't explore the effects of this, that would be absolutely horrible. Because
I completely
yeah,
agree.
everyone from 25 under became bored. That has to have not only great for therapists and their bills in the world of Star Trek, but you would assume that would have some consequences.
Right? Yeah, I agree.
Right. I mean, I can't imagine that, at least for a little while, it's got to be a little weird when, like, oh, I only killed a few of the people I knew. That's that's totally okay.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, everyone that I talk to, everyone seems to want Star Trek Legacy to happen, and I do feel like there's so much to mine from where they left off with these characters.
I agree. I really hope it happens.
In your head, in your head canon, because we all have our own head canon about these characters. Where would you like to see your character go from there? And keep in mind,
Hmm.
everyone listening will probably be writing comic books now and fan fiction now and everything else based on what you say.
No pressure.
No pressure.
Um, I really would like to see Esmar step into their full power and maturity and be in a place where their empathy and telepathy is more of a strength to them and isn't as overwhelming. Because I think there were a lot of moments in this season where Esmar, as a young ensign, going through all this crazy
Mm,
stuff, was, like you said, a little shell shocked.
yeah.
And they did the right thing, and they were they performed well, but they were very emotional and
Yes.
kind of, and so I think it would be fun to see Esmar step into their power and be on top of things more. They've grown, they've matured.
Now, I the cool thing about Picard is that you have this new crew, and then you have the old crew of actors and real actors. So was there a separation of almost interaction, like the people who were like the new crew members or the new actors stayed together and the old group stayed together? Or did you guys mingle, and what was the experience like?
It was kind of a combination of both. I mean, everyone was so welcoming, so there wasn't a sense of separation in that we were not included.
Mm,
Um, but there was also a special bond that we had as the young new generation,
yeah.
um, which was really fun. Like we were all in the same boat going through it together and dealing with the intense awesome overwhelm of being on the bridge. I
Mm.
mean, it's just, I remember Jonathan Frakes on my first day. He was just like, first day, never, what did he say? You'll remember it for the rest of your life or something like that. And
Mm.
I will remember him saying that for the rest of my life. It was amazing. It really, oh, they were so welcoming. It was amazing. Yeah, they're great.
So, how much bragging rights did you have that you got to sit in the captain's chair?
I tried not to brag, but come
A,
on now.
a
That
little
was
humble
great.
brag. Just did a little come out. To just walk by and say, "Call me captain."
I didn't. I should have taken advantage. I was really focused on making sure that I did a good job, so I don't think I had the energy to brag about it or joke about it. I was just like, "Oh my God, I have to make this moment count."
Mm. And like, so you also got to act. You had Jeri Ryan on as a crew member. Todd Stashwick was on there. What is that like? Because they felt like they kind of were like in the middle ground between the old group and the new group.
Yeah, yeah. That's funny. I didn't think of them. I also kind of thought of them as the old group, just in terms of, Todd wasn't on Star Trek but his experience level and the size of the role that he had in this season, I kind of thought of them all as the experienced, OG folks, and then there's little old me just tooling around in my console. Yeah, so I kind of put them all together like that. But yeah, I guess they were, yeah, you're right. They were new also. Or Jeri Ryan wasn't, but yeah, she's amazing. Oh my gosh, I love her so much.
Yeah. And do we have cool stories?
Cool stories. I think I don't have any specific stories so much as I just really appreciate the way that she works, and I just think she's such a good actor. It looks so effortless when she's acting. The way that she's acting and the way that she is in life. I mean, obviously she's the character, but um, it's the best kind of acting is the acting that doesn't look like acting, and that's what she does.
Mm. Now, obviously, you told what Frakes said, but once again, you're talking to those who have been playing Starfleet characters for a long time. Did they offer any insights to how to approach being in Star Trek? I mean, was there like, hey, just let you guys, this is kind of what we do here?
There was one moment where one episode Jonathan Frakes was directing, and I don't remember which scene it was, but it was, this person talking over here, this person, everybody's kind of collaborating, everyone on the bridge is collaborating to figure out the next move. And um, I remember Jonathan Frakes was like, it's Starfleet, we're cool, we're cool. And I was like, oh yeah, I think that Esmar is a little bit, it's not cool to really like really show your emotions too much,
Yeah.
and Esmar was always on the brink of, like, in my view, of not being on top of it so much, like, oh my gosh, what's happening?
That's awesome.
So I had to like rein it in and be like, no, okay, there is a certain level of cool, they've been through the Starfleet Academy, like they know, uh, they're at the top of what they do, and I think it's really important to remember that, like, about them. These are the best of the best,
Mm.
and there's a certain level of cool and ease that comes with that.
Now, like, the cool thing is that everyone seems to think Jonathan Frakes is this fantastic director. Is it better to work with a director who's been an actor, and not only an actor, but an actor in the show that you guys are filming? So they seem to have a better connection or a better understanding of how to work?
I don't want to say that because I don't want to insult anyone who's not, but I will say that he really understands actors and how they work, and the emotional roller coaster that can happen of just being on set and the challenges of that job. And that definitely informs the way that he directs. He's very, I don't know, like, I just felt like he created a really safe space,
Mm.
you know?
And also I'm gonna get the last name right, Terry Amadalis as well as the showrunner, who's very cool, and I'm sure you've had interactions with him. Now, did he make any references to keep in mind about future? Do we know, what do we have for rumors for Star Trek Legacy that you can spill on air, because obviously no one's paying attention?
Um,
Whatever you say will be on every Star Trek news outlet, probably. No, just kidding.
I wish I had information for you. I really wish I did. I know that um, I want it to happen. I know a lot of us really want it to happen. Um, the fans want it to happen.
Yes.
Like, it's got to happen, Right?
I mean, it feels like there's so much momentum going behind there. And by the way, everyone's interested. I am the admin of the Star Trek Legacy Facebook page. So just let you know if anyone wants to join, I'm pushing for it myself.
I love that.
I decided to dive in full nerd and just make a group for it, just to try to get the wheels moving. But
That's,
I
thank you.
oh,
Thank
no
you. 'Cause
problem.
they
But
do listen to the fans, so
I,
it's good.
it's loud too. I mean, the fans. I think this is the loudest I've ever heard fans yell about something since Strange New World and Pike showed up on Discovery. People were like, "This has to happen." I think this is louder, or even louder, because I think people, instead of going a reboot, people are like, "Hey, new characters, let's make this, make it go." And I feel like they spend too much time building these, making them characters seem interesting, just to be like, that was just for background, let's make it happen.
Right. I know. I'm so with you. I feel like it's so, and with the way that the season ends, it's just so perfectly set up for a spinoff.
Now, I don't know if it was ever done, but you can obviously, might as well say, spoil it for everybody if you don't mind. There's a moment when Jeri Ryan's about to say the big line of when she's about to go off, and they cut it, which really upset me greatly. I wanted to know what she says. Did they try out actual things before they left it as nothing, or do we know anything about that?
Um, as far as I know, it was always a blank space. We don't know. We don't know either.
Okay, I wasn't sure they tried a bunch of stuff and okay, how about we just do this?
I could be wrong, but I don't recall that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll just leave it that way for now, because like I said, it's one of those things. Every end is like, now you have to say it. Now you got to make this happen. But I mean, and I'm also going to assume if they ask you to come back, you're coming back.
Oh, hell yeah. Are you kidding me? Absolutely.
Because, like I said, so it seems like you're just as big of a fan of making Star Trek Legacy happen, or that's what pretty much people are calling it, as the fan base is.
I really am. It's just so great. And I'm just so grateful to be part of the Star Trek universe and part of the community, because the fans are great. And I'm going to the Star Trek convention in Las Vegas this year, which I'm really excited about. It'll be my first convention.
First
Yeah,
convention, or the first Star Trek convention
first convention.
ever? Wow, you're for a treat, huh?
Excited. Yeah.
You're ready to sign way too many autographs.
Oh, yeah. I know it's probably going to be pretty tiring. I'll be there for 3 days, but um, I just want to, you know, give back everything that I've gotten from doing this show. Like it's been amazing, and I want to give back to the fans in whatever way I can.
I think the cool thing about Star Trek, and which is a little different than I think a lot of franchises, is that the fans never forget. Like if you're in one episode, like people like in 1996, the 1966 original series, you show up in one episode. When your birthday comes up, they talk about they're like, they bring up, they don't ever forget anything anyone who's ever been in Star Trek. So I mean, what is that like? I mean, is it weird to be embraced by so many people and to know that forever they will hold you up as your Esmar?
I mean, I'm cool with it for now. I don't know the long-term ramifications of something like that, but right now it just feels like an incredible honor, and I'm really grateful.
When you were making Picard, did you know it was going to be did it just feel like something that was going to be a massive hit, or did it kind of shock just how much bigger it was than anything that came before it in Star Trek?
It felt like a big deal. I think we all knew it was a big deal with all of the original cast being back. Uh, yeah, there was a sense of, wow, this is happening. This is going to be big.
Because I mean, it broke all sorts of streaming records as well for Star Trek. I think it ended up being the third most streamed, or I don't know what the last episode was, but I know one. I think it was the fourth episode they announced was the third biggest streaming, at the time. And I'm not sure what the last one was, but I imagine it probably crushed it for Star Trek for records.
Yeah, as much as we thought it was going to be a big deal, I don't know. I mean, I certainly didn't expect it to be. Yeah, didn't it break some kind of Nielsen rating record?
Yeah.
So I'm glad that the final product reflects all the love and hard work and genius that went into making this show, because when I was crying when I saw the last episode, like it moved me. It's something I would watch if I wasn't in it. Like I just think objectively it's really, they did a great job putting it together. It looks really good.
And I think, at least I think the fans all really enjoyed it. I mean, there's always a jerk fan, but for the most part, I think everyone really enjoyed it. So what's next for you? And if it's Star Trek as well, feel free to drop the the information on that too.
I wish I could tell you I'm gonna be in it again. Hopefully, fingers crossed that'll happen. Right now, I'm wrapping up a video game that I've been working on for, oh my gosh, has it been 2 years? So that'll be out, and that'll be something I'll, go to conventions for too. I wish I could tell you what it is, but I can't. Um, and actually, another video game, but I think that's not as far along. So I have a couple of video games that I'll be in, that you'll see me in the next couple of years. And beyond that, yeah, it's just, with the WGA writer's strike right now, it's really slow. So I don't have anything in the pipeline at this moment. I'm just relaxing till the next thing.
When you're ready to drop what the video game's name is, please come back and talk about it. It's been an
I'd love to,
absolute
yeah.
pleasure.
Yeah, it's been great talking to you. Thank you so much, Jeff.
Thank you so much. It was an absolute pleasure.